The morning sun cast long shadows across the crystal canyons of Kepler 442c as Hyunwoo Park checked his equipment one final time. The mining colony had been his home for 2 years now, and he knew these rocky formations better than anyone else on the team. Today felt different, though. The air hummed with an energy that made his scanner readings jump and dance. Hyunwoo adjusted his helmet and stepped carefully along the narrow ledge. Below him stretched a maze of purple and blue crystal, formations that grew from the canyon walls like frozen lightning. These crystals were why humanity had come to this distant world. They powered the faster-than-light engines that carried ships between the stars. His boots crunched on loose gravel as he made his way deeper into the canyon system. The walls here rose hundreds of meters above his head, blocking out most of the sky. Only thin strips of orange sunlight filtered down to where he walked. His scanner beeped steadily as it detected rich crystal deposits in the rock around him. Hyunwoo paused at a junction where 3 canyon paths met. His map showed that the eastern path led to an unexplored section. The colony needed new mining sites, and his job was to find them. He chose the eastern route and began walking again. The path grew narrower as he went. Soon the walls pressed, so close together that he had to turn sideways to squeeze through some sections. His breathing echoed off the crystal-studded walls. The scanner readings grew stronger with each step. Then he heard it. A sound that made him freeze in place. It was soft and rhythmic, like breathing, but not human breathing. Something much larger was taking slow, labored breaths somewhere ahead of him. Hyunwoo felt his heart rate increase. The colony briefings had mentioned that this planet might have native life forms, but none had ever been found. He reached for his radio to call base camp. "Base, this is Survey 7, he whispered into his communicator. "I'm picking up unusual sounds in Section 12 Alpha, requesting guidance." Static crackled in his earpiece before Bo-Ram Kim's voice came through clearly. She was the head of his survey team and had been working Frontier Worlds for 15 years. "Survey 7. Describe the sounds." Bo-Ram's voice carried the calm authority of someone who had faced unknown dangers before. Large breathing patterns. Definitely not human or any known equipment signatures. A long pause filled the radio channel. When Bo-Ram spoke again, her voice carried a new tension. "Survey 7. Abort current mission and return to base immediately. Do not investigate further." But Hyunwoo had already rounded the next corner. What he saw made him forget about radios and safety protocols entirely. Trapped beneath a pile of fallen rocks was a creature unlike anything he had ever imagined. It looked like the dragons from old Earth stories, but smaller, about the size of a large dog. Its scales shifted between gray and silver in the filtered sunlight. One wing was pinned under a massive crystal boulder, and dark blue fluid seeped from wounds along its side. The creature's head lifted weakly as it sensed his presence. Large eyes the color of deep ocean water met his gaze. In that moment, Hyunwoo felt something pass between them, not words or thoughts, but a feeling of desperate hope mixed with fear. "Oh no," he breathed. "What happened to you?" The creature tried to move but collapsed again with a soft whimper. Its breathing was definitely labored now. Hyunwoo could see that it was dying. His radio crackled again. "Survey 7, report your status immediately." Hyunwoo looked at the trapped creature, then at his radio. Bo-Ram would order him to leave. Colony protocol was clear about unknown life forms. "Observe from a distance. Report to headquarters. Let the specialists handle first contact." But this was not first contact anymore. This was a rescue situation. "Base, I found something. An injured native life form. It's trapped and needs immediate assistance." The radio channel exploded with voices. Bo-Ram's voice cut through the chatter. "Survey 7. Do not approach the creature. Unknown species can be extremely dangerous. Return to base now." Hyunwoo looked at the dying creature again. Its eyes had closed, and its breathing was becoming more shallow. He made his decision. "Base, I cannot comply. This creature will die if I leave it here. He turned off his radio before Boram could respond. Moving carefully, Hyunwoo approached the rock pile. The creature watched him with what seemed like curiosity rather than fear. Up close, he could see that its scales were not just gray and silver. Tiny threads of other colors ran through them like veins in marble. The boulder pinning its wing was too heavy to move by hand. Hyunwoo studied the rock formation and noticed that the boulder was balanced on several smaller stones, if he could remove the right supporting rocks. The whole pile might shift enough to free the creature. He pulled out his mining tools and began working. The creature watched every movement with intelligent eyes. As he worked, Hyunwoo found himself talking to it in soft Korean. "It's going to be okay. I'm going to get you out of there. Just stay calm." The creature's breathing seemed to steady as he spoke. After 20 minutes of careful work, Hyunwoo had removed enough support stones to create instability in the pile. "This might hurt a little, but it should free you," he told the creature. He pushed against the keystone with all his strength. The rock pile shifted and settled into a new configuration. The creature's wing came free. Immediately, Hyunwoo could see that the wing membrane was torn in several places. The creature tried to stand but fell again. Its leg was also injured. Without thinking, Hyunwoo pulled out his emergency medical kit. The items were designed for humans, but injuries were injuries. He cleaned the worst wounds and applied synthetic skin patches to stop the bleeding. The creature submitted to his care without resistance. When he offered it water from his canteen, it drank gratefully. When he shared his emergency food rations, it ate slowly and carefully. As the sun began to set, casting the canyon in deeper shadows, Hyunwoo realized he had made a choice that would change everything. He had saved something beautiful and intelligent from death. He did not know that high above them, other members of the creature's species had begun to search for their missing family member. He did not know that they were following energy signatures that would lead them directly to this canyon. All he knew was that he could not abandon this creature to die alone. The first day of a new chapter in human history was ending, and Hyunwoo Park sat beside a sleeping dragon in a crystal canyon, keeping watch through the long night ahead. Dawn broke over the crystal canyon with colors that painted the walls in shades of gold and pink. Hyunwoo had not slept much during the night. Every few hours he had checked on the injured creature, making sure it was still breathing and that its wounds were not getting worse. The creature had slept peacefully, curled up like a large cat near the emergency heater he had set up. In the morning light, Hyunwoo could see that its scales were changing color. What had been dull gray yesterday now showed hints of deep blue, like the ocean just before a storm. His radio had been buzzing with incoming messages all night. He had kept it turned off, knowing that Boram and the colony administrators would be demanding his immediate return. But looking at the creature as it slowly opened its eyes, Hyunwoo knew he had made the right choice. The creature lifted its head and looked directly at him. For a moment, neither moved. Then something extraordinary happened. Images began forming in Hyunwoo's mind. Not words, but pictures and feelings. He saw flashes of soaring through clouds, of crystal formations from high above, of others like this creature flying together in complex patterns. "You can share thoughts," Hyunwoo said softly. "That's incredible." More images came. He saw the creature as much smaller, learning to fly with others who were larger and more experienced. He felt emotions of joy and belonging. Then came darker images, storm clouds, lightning, being separated from the group, fear, pain, loneliness. "You got lost in a storm," Hyunwoo understood. "Your family doesn't know where you are." The creature made a sound that was almost like a purr. The images, in his mind, shifted to show gratitude. Somehow, it understood that he wanted to help. His radio crackled to life despite being turned off. That meant someone at the base was using emergency override protocols. "Survey 7, this is Director Tae-jin Choi. Respond immediately or face disciplinary action." Hyunwoo sighed and picked up the radio. Director Choi was the head of the entire mining colony. He was not someone you ignored for long. Director Choi, this is Survey 7. I'm safe and continuing my mission. Your mission was geological survey, not xenobiology. Return to base now. Sir, I cannot leave an injured creature to die. It's not in my nature. The radio went quiet for several long minutes. When Director Choi spoke again, his voice was tight with controlled anger. Park Hyun-woo, you are in violation of colony protocols regarding unknown species contact. If you do not return immediately, you will be considered in breach of your contract. Before Hyun-woo could respond, another voice came through the radio. It was Dr. Yoon-young Lee, the colony's expert on alien life forms. Director, this is the first intelligent species we've encountered on this planet. The scientific value of this contact cannot be overstated. Dr. Lee, you will not encourage this reckless behavior. I'm simply stating that we should not waste this opportunity for peaceful first contact. Hyun-woo smiled despite the tension in the conversation. Dr. Lee had always been supportive of the survey teams, and she understood the importance of what was happening. Survey 7, Dr. Lee continued. Can you describe the creature's current condition? Hyun-woo looked at his patient. The creature was now sitting up and moving its injured wing carefully. The synthetic skin patches were holding well, and the bleeding had completely stopped. The creature is responding well to treatment. Wing membrane tears are healing. No signs of infection. It's been sharing mental images with me. Definitely intelligent and capable of complex communication. More voices joined the radio conversation. Hyun-woo recognized some of his fellow survey team members expressing concern for his safety. Others were clearly excited about the discovery. Through all the radio chatter, the creature watched him with what seemed like amusement. More images formed in his mind. He saw himself from the creature's perspective, talking into a small device while other voices came out of it. The creature found this behavior curious and slightly funny. You think our technology is amusing? Hyun-woo said to it. The creature tilted its head and made a sound that was definitely laughter. It showed him more images of creatures like itself, communicating through direct thought sharing over vast distances. No devices needed. As the day progressed, Hyun-woo set up a more permanent camp. He arranged his shelter to provide shade for both of them and used his water recycling system to ensure they would not run short. The creature watched every activity with intense interest. By afternoon, word had spread throughout the colony. His radio buzzed constantly with requests for updates, interviews, and status reports. Security Chief Min-ho Yoon called to ask about potential threats. Meteorologist Jae-ho Won wanted to know if the creature's presence was affecting local weather patterns. That last question turned out to be more important than anyone realized. Around sunset, Jae-ho's voice came through the radio with unusual urgency. Survey 7, I'm seeing some very strange atmospheric readings in your area. Electromagnetic disturbances unlike anything in our databases. Are you observing any unusual phenomena? Hyun-woo looked around the canyon. The air did feel different. It seemed to carry a low humming sound that he could feel in his bones more than hear with his ears. The crystal formations in the walls were glowing more brightly than usual. Tabao, creature beside him, was becoming agitated. It stood up and walked to the center of their small camp, looking up at the narrow strip of sky visible between the canyon walls. Images flooded Hyun-woo's mind, other creatures like this one, but much larger, flying in formation, searching. Jae-ho, I think we're about to have more company, Hyun-woo said into his radio. What do you mean? Before he could answer, a sound echoed through the canyon that made his teeth ache. It was like singing, but deeper and more complex than any human voice could produce. The creature beside him lifted its head and made similar sounds in response. They're calling to each other, Hyun-woo whispered into the radio. The family is coming. The electromagnetic readings on Jae-ho's instruments. must have been going wild because his voice came through the radio tight with concern. Survey 7. Whatever is coming your way is big, really big. The energy signatures are off the scale. As night fell over the canyon, the singing grew louder and seemed to come from multiple directions. The crystal walls began resonating with the sound, creating harmonics that filled the air with music unlike anything Hyunwoo had ever heard. The creature pressed against his side, sharing images of reunion and gratitude, but also of others like itself who were ancient and powerful and not easily impressed by small creatures who walked on two legs. Hyunwoo realized that his simple act of kindness was about to be put to a test he could never have imagined. Tomorrow would bring visitors from the sky, and he had no idea if they would see him as a friend or as a threat to be eliminated. The third morning came with an unnatural darkness. Storm clouds that had not been there the night before now covered the entire canyon system like a thick gray blanket. But these were not ordinary storm clouds. They moved in patterns that seemed purposeful, and lightning flickered inside them without making any thunder. Hyunwoo woke to find his small companion standing at the edge of their camp, looking up at the sky with intense concentration. The creature's scales had changed again overnight. Now they showed brilliant patches of sapphire blue mixed with silver, and they seemed to glow with their own inner light. "They're close, aren't they?" Hyunwoo said softly. Images flooded his mind in response. Massive shapes moving through the clouds above, eyes like stars looking down, ancient voices singing in harmonies that could shake mountains. His companion was excited but also nervous. The ones coming were elders of their kind, beings of great power and wisdom who did not often concern themselves with the affairs of smaller creatures. His radio came to life with urgent chatter from the colony. All personnel to emergency stations. Unknown aerial contacts approaching from multiple vectors. This is not a drill. Security Chief Min Ho-yoon's voice cut through the background noise. Survey 7, you need to evacuate your position immediately. We're tracking at least 30 large contacts heading directly for your location. I can't leave now, Hyunwoo replied. This creature's family is coming to find it. If I run away, they might think I was the one who heard it. Park, these things are huge. Each contact is showing up on our sensors as being over 100 meters long. That's bigger than our largest transport ships. Hyunwoo felt his stomach tighten with fear, but he looked down at the small creature beside him. It was sharing more images now. He saw himself through its eyes, not as a threat or an enemy, but as someone who had chosen kindness over safety. Someone who had stayed when he could have left. Min Ho, I think running would be the worst thing I could do right now. Communications officer. So Young's voice joined the radio channel. Survey 7. All electronic equipment within 1 kilometer of your position just went offline. Whatever is coming is generating massive electromagnetic interference. As if summoned by her words, the first shape appeared through the clouds. Hyunwoo had thought he was prepared for something large, but nothing could have prepared him for the reality of seeing a fully grown member of this species. The creature that descended from the clouds was magnificent and terrifying at the same time. Its wingspan was easily 150 meters from tip to tip. Scales the color of deep ocean water covered its body, with patterns of silver and gold running along its neck and wings. Its eyes were like burning stars, and when it looked down at Hyunwoo, he felt as though he was being examined by something far older and more intelligent than anything he had ever encountered. The great creature landed with surprising gentleness at the far end of the canyon, folding its wings against its body. Then another appeared through the clouds, and another. Within minutes, dozens of these magnificent beings had arranged themselves in a perfect circle around the small camp where Hyunwoo stood with his injured patient. The pressure of their combined presence was overwhelming. Hyunwoo felt his knees go weak and had to lean against a crystal formation to stay upright. His thoughts became fuzzy, and he had difficulty focusing on anything except the ancient intelligence that seemed to be pressing against his mind from all directions. His small companion moved to stand directly in front of him, spreading its wings, as much as its injuries would allow. The gesture was clearly protective, and Hyunwoo felt a wave of gratitude toward the brave little creature. One of the great beings, larger and more ornate than the others, stepped forward. When it moved, the ground trembled slightly under its weight. When it spoke, the sound came not through the air, but directly into Hyunwoo's mind. Small earth creature, you have touched one of our young. The mental voice was like listening to an avalanche that had learned to speak. It carried the weight of centuries and the power to crush his thoughts entirely if it chose to do so. Hyunwoo tried to speak but found that his voice would not work. Instead, he focused on projecting his thoughts as clearly as possible, the way his small companion had taught him over the past 2 days. I found it hurt and trapped. I could not leave it to die. You could have taken it to your kind for study. You could have used it to gain status among your people. Why did you choose to remain here and tend to its wounds? The question probed deep into his memories. Hyunwoo felt the ancient intelligence examining every moment of the past 3 days, looking at his motivations and intentions with a thoroughness that left him feeling exposed and vulnerable. But he had nothing to hide. His actions had been driven by simple compassion, and he let the great beings see that truth clearly. Because it was in pain and afraid, because leaving something to suffer when you can help is wrong, because it was the right thing to do. A long silence followed. The great beings consulted among themselves using forms of communication far too complex and rapid for Hyunwoo to follow. He caught glimpses of concepts and emotions, but the full conversation was beyond his understanding. His small companion pressed against his leg and shared reassuring images. But even it seemed uncertain about what the elders were deciding. Finally, the largest of the great beings spoke again. In 10,000 cycles of this world around its star, we have encountered many species. Some flee from us in terror. Others attack us with primitive weapons. Many try to capture our young for profit or study, but never have we found a creature that would risk its own safety simply to ease the suffering of one of ours without any expectation of reward. More images flooded Hyunwoo's mind, but these came from the great being itself. He saw flashes of history spanning thousands of years, civilizations that had risen and fallen, species that had tried to bargain with or trick the great dragons. Wars fought over resources and territory, and through it all, a growing cynicism about the nature of other intelligent life. You have shown us something we thought was lost from the universe, the ancient voice continued. Compassion without calculation. Kindness without condition. We are curious about a species that produces individuals capable of such behavior. Around the circle, the other great beings were settling into more relaxed positions. The crushing pressure of their mental presence eased slightly, allowing Hyunwoo to think more clearly. Are there others of your kind who would act as you have acted? The elder asked. Hyunwoo thought of his fellow colonists, of Dr. Yoon-young Lee, who had supported his decision despite the risks to her career, of the survey team members who had expressed concern for his safety, of the human tendency to help those in need, even when it was difficult or dangerous. Yes, he said with certainty, many others would have done the same thing. The great beings' eyes seemed to glow brighter with interest. Then perhaps it is time for our species to become acquainted. The great elder dragon, who had identified himself as Vorthak the Stormwing, did not immediately explain what he meant by becoming acquainted. Instead, he began what Hyunwoo would later understand was the most thorough examination of character ever conducted between two species. Before we can trust, Vorthak said, his mental voice carrying undertones of ancient caution, we must understand. Your species is unknown to us. One individual showing kindness does not speak for all individuals. We must test what lies beneath your surface thoughts. Dr. Kyungmi Nam arrived at the colony that morning on the regular supply transport, completely unaware that she was about to witness the most important first contact in human history. As the colony's newly assigned xenoanthropologist, she had been sent to study the mining operations' effects on any potential native cultures. Instead, she found herself being rushed to the canyon by director Tae-jin Choi to document humanity's first peaceful encounter with a technologically advanced alien species. The energy readings are beyond anything we've ever recorded, meteorologist Jae-ho Won reported as Dr. Nam suited up for the journey to the canyon. These beings are generating controlled electromagnetic fields that our best scientists don't understand. Whatever happens out there could determine the future of human expansion in this sector. Meanwhile, in the Crystal Canyon, Hyunwoo was about to discover that dragons had methods of psychological analysis that human science had never dreamed of. "We will share scenarios with your mind," Vorthak explained. "You will experience them as if they were real. Your responses will show us the true nature of your character and, through you, the character of your species." Before Hyunwoo could ask what that meant, his vision went white, and he found himself standing in a completely different place. He was in a luxurious room filled with treasures beyond imagination. Gold and precious stones covered every surface. Advanced technologies that could solve all of humanity's energy problems sat on pedestals like museum pieces. And standing before him was his small dragon companion, fully healed and beautiful. Voice that sounded like his own thoughts spoke in his mind. "All of this can be yours. The treasures, the technology, the power to become the most important human in history. You need only to sell the young one to us as a research subject. It will not be harmed, merely studied. You will be rich and famous beyond your wildest dreams." Hyunwoo looked at the incredible wealth surrounding him. He thought of his family back on Earth, struggling with debts and health problems that this fortune could solve. He thought of the recognition and status that discovering alien technology would bring him. Then he looked at his small companion, who was watching him with trusting eyes. "No," Hyunwoo said firmly. "It is not for sale. It is not mine to sell. It is a living being with its own value and its own family who loves it." The vision dissolved, and he was back in the canyon. But immediately another scenario began. This time he stood in a dark place surrounded by menacing figures who looked like humans but moved with predatory grace. Their leader stepped forward with eyes like burning coals. "Give us the dragon, or we will destroy your colony," the figure said with casual cruelty. "Every human on this world will die slowly and painfully unless you hand over the creature within 1 hour. Choose wisely." Hyunwoo felt fear grip his heart as he thought of his friends and colleagues at the mining colony. Hundreds of innocent people who had done nothing wrong. The weight of their lives pressed down on him like a physical burden. But again, he looked at his small companion. "I cannot trade one innocent life for others," he said, his voice shaking but determined. "If you want to hurt people, that is your choice and your evil. But I will not be part of it." The vision ended, and a third began immediately. Now he stood before a council of impressive humans in military uniforms covered with medals and ribbons. The leader, a stern woman with silver hair, gestured to a holographic display showing star maps and fleet positions. "Engineer Park," she said in a commanding voice, "your discovery of this alien species represents a massive strategic advantage for humanity. These creatures possess technologies that could give us dominance over this entire region of space. You will cooperate fully with our research programs, and we will reward you with rank, authority, and a position in the new galactic government we will establish." The display showed human fleets conquering world after world using dragon technology to subjugate other species. Hyunwoo saw himself as an admiral in this new empire, commanding vast resources and wielding enormous power. "This is not what I want," Hyunwoo said quietly. "This is not what humanity should be. We should be exploring and learning and making friends, not conquering and ruling over others." Each vision that followed tested a different aspect of his character. Scenarios where personal gain conflicted with moral choices. Situations where fear and pressure tried to override compassion. Temptations of power, wealth, revenge, and glory. In every case, Hyunwoo's response remained consistent with the simple kindness he had shown to an injured creature 3 days earlier. Dr. Kyung-mi. Nam arrived at the canyon rim just as the testing was reaching its conclusion. Through her binoculars, she could see the incredible sight of dozens of enormous dragons arranged in a perfect circle around one small human figure. But what amazed her most was that the human was still standing there voluntarily, apparently engaged in peaceful communication with beings powerful enough to level mountains. "This is unprecedented," she whispered into her recording device. "The subject shows no signs of coercion or distress despite being surrounded by creatures of obviously superior physical capability. This suggests either remarkable courage or an established relationship of trust." Back in the canyon, Vorthek was experiencing something that had not happened to his species in millennia. Every scenario designed to reveal hidden selfishness, cruelty, or cowardice had instead revealed the opposite. The humans' responses showed a consistency of character that the dragons had never encountered in any other species. Your thoughts remain clear, and your choices remain ethical even under extreme pressure, Vorthak observed with something approaching wonder. "This is most unusual. In our experience, all intelligent species eventually choose personal benefit over moral principle when the pressure becomes sufficient. Maybe you haven't met the right species yet," Hyunwoo suggested. The great dragon was quiet for a long moment, consulting with his companions through rapid exchanges of complex thought patterns. "We have met many species across many worlds," Vorthak finally said. "We have seen civilizations rise and fall. We have watched as intelligence grows and ethics diminish. We have learned to be suspicious of small creatures who speak of friendship while plotting betrayal. But your responses suggest something different, something we had begun to think was impossible." "What is that?" "Consistent moral behavior regardless of external circumstances. Your species calls this integrity, we believe." Around the circle, the other dragons were becoming more animated in their communications. Hyunwoo caught fragments of their discussion, concepts about lost ideals and forgotten values, memories of a time when their own species had valued compassion over power. His small companion, who had been quietly watching the entire process, suddenly stepped forward and began projecting images toward the assembled elders. Hyunwoo saw flashes of his own actions over the past 3 days, but from the young dragon's perspective, the careful way he had freed it from the rocks, the gentleness of his medical care, the food and water shared freely, the protection offered despite obvious danger. But most importantly, the young dragon showed them something that Hyunwoo had not even realized himself. In all their time together, not once had he considered the creature as anything other than a being deserving of help and respect, not as a source of profit or knowledge or fame, but simply as someone who needed assistance. "You do not see our young as a thing to be used," Vorthak said with growing amazement. "You see it as an equal deserving of care and protection." "Of course," Hyunwoo said, confused by the dragon's surprise. "What else would I see? The answer to that question would change both species forever." The great dragons spent the entire 4th day in deep consultation. Their mental conversations created visible distortions in the air above the canyon, like heat waves made of pure thought. Hyunwoo could not understand the complex concepts they shared, but his small companion translated what it could. The dragons were debating something unprecedented in their 10,000-year history. For the first time, they were considering forming an alliance with a species they viewed as equals, rather than subjects or potential threats. Elder Vorthak finally broke the long silence. "Human Hyunwoo, we offer something that has never been offered to any species in this galaxy. We invite your people to join us as partners in exploring the universe." The words hit Hyunwoo like a physical blow. He sat down heavily on a crystal, outcropping, trying to process what he had just heard. "I don't understand. I'm just a mining engineer. I'm nobody important." "You are important because you represent what your species can be at its best," Vorthak replied. "Our own society has become cold and logical over the centuries. We have optimized ourselves for intelligence and power, but in doing so, we have lost something precious. We have forgotten how to care for others without calculating the benefit to ourselves." Images flowed into Hyunwoo's mind, showing him the history of the dragon civilization. He saw magnificent cities that floated among the stars, technologies that could reshape matter at the atomic level, and sciences that had unlocked the deepest secrets of the universe. But he also saw the gradual emotional emptiness that had come with such advancement. "We became so focused on perfecting ourselves that we eliminated what you humans call heart," Vorthak continued. "Our young are created in laboratories and educated by machines. They never learn the simple joy of caring for others or the satisfaction of helping someone in need. They are brilliant but empty." "But your young one here isn't empty," Hyunwoo protested. "It has emotions and curiosity and gratitude." "Yes. And that is precisely why this situation is so important. In 3 days with you, our young has experienced more genuine emotional growth than most of our kind experience in their entire lives." Dr. Kyungmi Nam was frantically taking notes as she observed the unprecedented meeting from the canyon rim. Communications officer So Young had managed to establish a relay station that could broadcast the historical event back to the colony, though the dragon's electromagnetic presence played havoc with electronic equipment. "This is the most significant moment in human history," Dr. Nam whispered into her recorder. "First contact is proceeding peacefully and may result in technological and cultural exchange beyond our wildest hopes." Back in the colony, Director Taejin Choi was dealing with communications from Earth. Word of the dragon contact had reached human government authorities, and everyone wanted to send specialists and negotiators to take over the situation. "Tell them that any interference could destroy what we've built here," Director Choi instructed Communications Officer Young. "Park Hyunwoo has accomplished something our best diplomats probably couldn't manage. We let him continue to handle this." Meanwhile, mining team leader Chang-Soo Lim was organizing the practical aspects of a potential alliance. If the dragons were serious about partnership, the colony would need to expand rapidly to accommodate joint research facilities and cultural exchange programs. In the canyon, Vorthak was explaining the dragon's proposal in detail. "We want to learn from your species how to rediscover compassion without losing our intelligence. In exchange, we will share our technologies and knowledge of the galaxy. Together, our peoples could explore and understand the universe in ways that neither could achieve alone." "What would that mean exactly?" Hyunwoo asked. "Joint colonies where both species live and work together. Shared exploration missions to new worlds. Cultural exchange programs where our young learn from yours and yours learn from ours. Most importantly, a new model for how advanced civilizations can interact based on mutual respect rather than dominance." Hyunwoo thought about the implications. Humanity had always dreamed of finding friendly alien life, but actually building a civilization with another species was something that had never been seriously considered. "There would be challenges," he said thoughtfully. "Our species are very different. We might misunderstand each other or have conflicts. All relationships have challenges," Vorthak agreed. "But your actions have shown us that humans possess something we desperately need to relearn, and we have knowledge and capabilities that could help your species reach its full potential." Communications specialist Hye-jin Seo had managed to establish a stable connection between the canyon and Earth by using the dragon's own electromagnetic fields as a relay system. The first interspecies communication link in human history was about to carry a message that would change everything. "Earth Control, "This is Kepler Colony," she broadcast. "We have established peaceful first contact with an advanced alien civilization. They are proposing a formal alliance between our species." The response from Earth was immediate and chaotic. Every government, organization, and media outlet wanted details about the aliens and their technology. But amidst all the excitement and political maneuvering, one voice stood out clearly. It was Dr. Sarah Chen, the head of Earth's xenobiology program, speaking directly to Hyun-woo through the communication link. "Engineer Park, I want you to know that what you've accomplished represents the best of humanity. Whatever decisions are made going forward, remember that you built this relationship through simple kindness and respect. Don't let politics or greed destroy what you've created." Her words reminded Hyun-woo of why he had helped the injured dragon in the first place. It had nothing to do with politics or history or the future of civilization. It had been about doing the right thing for a creature in need. "Elder Vorthak," he said, "I cannot speak for all humanity. I'm not qualified to make decisions for my entire species." "We understand this," the great dragon replied, "but you can speak for the kind of humans we want to build a relationship with. Those who choose compassion over profit, understanding over fear, cooperation over domination. And if some humans don't want that kind of relationship, then we will work with those who do. We have learned that it is better to build friendships with a few good individuals than to try to negotiate with entire civilizations that may not share our values." As the sun set on the fourth day, young dragon Bitna, as Hyun-woo had privately named his companion, made a decision that surprised everyone, including the dragon elders. It approached Hyun-woo and projected a clear image into his mind. A permanent bond between them, like the partnership bonds that dragons formed with their mates and closest family members. "It wants to stay with me," Hyun-woo realized with amazement. "This has never happened before," Vorthak admitted. "Our young have never formed bonds with members of other species, but perhaps this too is a sign that our peoples are meant to work together." That night, as humans and dragons settled down together for the first time in galactic history, Hyun-woo looked up at the stars and realized that his simple act of kindness had opened a doorway to a future that nobody had ever imagined possible. Tomorrow would bring new challenges and new opportunities, but tonight, two species were learning to trust each other under an alien sky. The age of cooperation was about to begin. 6 months later, the crystal canyons of Kepler 442c looked like something from a dream. Human buildings with their practical geometric designs stood alongside flowing dragon architecture that seemed to grow from the crystal formations themselves. The two styles complemented each other perfectly, creating a unique fusion that belonged to neither species individually, but to both working together. Hyun-woo stood on the observation deck of the new joint research facility, watching human children play alongside young dragons in the gardens below. Their laughter echoed off the canyon walls, mixing with the musical sounds that dragon younglings made when they were happy. Bitna, now fully grown and magnificent in her adult scales that shimmered like captured starlight, settled beside him with the easy familiarity of a 6-month partnership. "Do you ever wonder how different things might have been?" she asked through their mental link. She had learned to communicate in human concepts and emotions, while he had developed the ability to think in the complex image patterns that dragons preferred. "If I had followed orders and returned to base that first day," Hyun-woo replied thoughtfully. "Yes, I think about it sometimes, but I'm glad I didn't." The transformation of the mining colony into the first interspecies city in human history had not been without challenges. Ambassador Dong-hyun-an had arrived from Earth with a team of diplomats who initially tried to turn the alliance into a traditional trade negotiation. The dragons had been amused by humanity's attempts to treat friendship as a business transaction. "Your species has a curious habit of making everything complicated," Elder Vorthak had observed during one particularly frustrating diplomatic session. The young humans showed us that the best relationships are built on simple principles. Perhaps we should return to those principles. Military advisor Sunja Park had been even more direct in her approach, wanting to understand dragon military capabilities and defensive technologies. The dragons had been patient with these inquiries, but made it clear that they were more interested in sharing knowledge about healing and exploration than weapons and warfare. We have spent too many centuries perfecting ways to destroy, Vorthak had explained. We would prefer to learn from humans how to create and nurture instead. The breakthrough had come when Dr. Yoon Young Lee proposed a completely different approach to the alliance. Instead of formal treaties and trade agreements, she suggested starting with simple cultural exchange programs and joint research projects. Let the two species get to know each other as individuals before trying to negotiate as governments. The result had been remarkable. Young dragons came to live with human families, learning about concepts like friendship, loyalty, and self-sacrifice that had been bred out of their own culture. In return, human students worked with dragon mentors to understand sciences and technologies that expanded their perspective on the universe itself. Urban planner Sang-woo Kim had been instrumental in designing the integrated city that now sprawled across the canyon system. His plans balanced the dragon's need for large open spaces and soaring architecture with human requirements for enclosed, climate-controlled living areas. The result was a city unlike anything either species had built before. The most interesting thing, Sang-woo had told Hyunwoo during the construction phase, is how the two architectural styles enhance each other. The dragon's flowing designs make our buildings look more elegant, while our structured approach gives their constructions more practical functionality. The economic implications of the alliance had been staggering. Dragon technology had revolutionized human space travel, making journeys between star systems that once took months now possible in days. Human emotional intelligence and creativity had helped the dragons rediscover arts and literature that their logical optimization had eliminated from their culture centuries ago. But the most important changes had been personal rather than technological. Historian Dr. In-suk Lee had been documenting these changes since her arrival 3 months earlier. Her research showed that humans living in the integrated community scored higher on empathy and cooperation tests, while dragons showed increased creativity and emotional expression. It's as if each species is learning to be more complete by interacting with the other, she had written in her latest report to Earth. The dragons are becoming more emotionally intelligent, while the humans are developing enhanced logical and analytical capabilities. The success of the Kepler colony had attracted attention from across the galaxy. Other alien species had begun approaching the human-dragon alliance with cautious interest. The Zephyrians, a species of gas-based beings from the outer rim, had sent ambassadors to learn about this new model of interspecies cooperation. Diplomatic Corps Chief Woo Jin Cho had established protocols for these expanding relationships, always emphasizing the principles that had made the original alliance successful: mutual respect, individual friendship before governmental negotiation, and the understanding that differences between species could be strengths rather than barriers. We're not trying to create a galactic empire, Chief Cho had explained to a delegation of curious aliens. We're trying to build a community where every species can contribute their unique strengths while learning from others. As Hyunwoo watched the mixed groups of children playing below, he reflected on how much had changed since that morning 6 months ago when he had found an injured dragon in a pile of rocks. His simple decision to help had resulted in the first peaceful interspecies alliance in recorded galactic history. Bitna shared an image with him through their bond. She showed him the view from high above the colony, where the integrated city looked like a jewel set among the crystal canyons. But more than the physical beauty, she shared the emotional resonance of the place, the sense of belonging and cooperation that filled every building and gathering space. "My people are learning to dream again," she told him. "For centuries, we focused only on logic and efficiency. But living with humans has reminded us that dreams and hopes and wishes are what make life worth living. And my people are learning to think beyond themselves, Hyunwoo replied. Working with dragons has shown us that we can be part of something bigger and more wonderful than we ever imagined alone. A soft chime from his communicator interrupted his thoughts. It was a message from Earth, informing him that the Galactic Council had officially recognized the Human-Dragon Alliance as a new model for interspecies relations. 3 other species had already requested similar partnerships with the Alliance. They want me to come to Earth and explain how we built this relationship, he told Bitna. And what will you tell them? Hyunwoo smiled as he thought about his answer. I'll tell them that the secret to making friends with aliens is the same as making friends with anyone else. You treat them with kindness and respect. You help them when they're in trouble. You listen to what they have to say. And you remember that differences make relationships stronger, not weaker. As the sun set over the crystal canyons, painting the integrated city in shades of gold and purple, Hyunwoo realized that his story had become something much larger than one human helping one injured dragon. It had become proof that the universe was full of possibilities for friendship and cooperation that nobody had ever dreamed of before. The age of isolated species competing for resources was ending. The age of communities working together to explore and understand the infinite wonders of the galaxy was just beginning. And it had all started with one simple choice to help a creature in need. In the garden below, human and dragon children continued to play together, their mixed voices creating new harmonies that belonged to neither species alone, but to the future they were building together under an alien sky that was becoming home to them all.